Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sun is rising, feel the warmth on my face. There's a lot to do now, but there ain't no race. I sip my coffee, I'm feeling fine. No need to work yet, I'm gonna take my time. It's a brand new day, gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way. Take a look on my window.
Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have TyKesha Boone, owner and chief consultant of Boone Enterprises, non-profit success strategist, author, and speaker. Welcome, Ty.
Hey, thank you. Hi, Kim.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good, and I'm glad that we finally had this opportunity to talk. It's been a while since we kind of connected a couple months ago, and now we're finally here. It seems I can't believe that we're already in November, so I'm just like,
Right.
wow. So
In a minute. 2018 in a minute, right?
Yes. Things go by very quickly. So, welcome to the show. Please just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is TyKesha. I go by Ty, please. Ty Boone. I am actually just a little old country girl from this place called Greenville, Alabama. And I'm talking about country. Like the nearest cities are probably, I think, a town called Pineapple and one called Burnt Corn or something like that.
Wow.
You know, just kind of really seriously. I grew up down there in Greenville. I moved to Birmingham, Alabama to go to college. I have a few degrees. I have a background in psychology, public health, community health education. I am a nonprofit success strategist. I'm a certified nonprofit consultant. I am a mama. I have 3 kids, ages 14, 3, and 8. I am almost a potty training professional because you know what? My 3-year-old I'm serious. My 3-year-old has gotten it. I mean, for the last couple of weeks, he's on a roll. So I'm going to put that on my CV as well. My daughter's 14. I have an 8-year-old. I am owner and chief consultant at Boone Enterprises. That's my nonprofit coaching and consulting business. I am a nonprofit success strategist. And what that means is that I help new and underfunded nonprofits move from startup and struggle to sustainability and success. And I know that sounds like a mouthful, right? Mm-hmm. But what happens with nonprofits is that they'll start, or it's so easy to start nowadays because there's, and we'll get into it later, I guess. There's it's so easy to start nowadays, but the funding is not there. So what I do is help them to get funded and to fulfill the passions that they're wanting to fulfill.
All right. Wow. Okay. And we have a lot to dive into. But before we kind of dive into, you've got a lot. I mean, it's amazing because, like I said, earlier was kind of going through and just doing a little research on my own. And I was just fascinated. And I really can't wait to hear the story about how you utilize your background in psychology in the public mental health piece or the public health piece that, as a strategy to what you're doing. But before we dive into that piece, tell me a little bit how you got inspired to do what you're doing.
Well, I would say that I was going to say when I read your questions, who was your inspiration? I was going to say Oprah, right? Because Oprah is everybody's inspiration. Like she seems to be so well balanced and she makes a lot of money. So I'm like, oh yeah. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, that's not going to be it. Really, and honestly, I had an aunt who passed away when she was 45 years old. right?
Mm-hmm.
At the time, she had a 6-year-old daughter, and her daughter, my mom and another aunt of mine ended up having joint custody of her, raising her, into an adult that she is now. But watching my aunt, as I grew up, she's the sweetest lady, just worked so hard. Sometimes she worked, 14, 15 hours, shifts. And that was kind of it for her. She woke up and she went to work. She worked at a nursing home. And that's kind of what she did. Never had any fun, never did anything that I think that her heart really led her to do other than get up, pay the bills, work 20 more hours and come home. And when she passed away, it seemed like I just started to think about everything that, and I was at the time probably 20, and I said, and I just turned 40. I turned 40 in September. Anyway, I started thinking, I can't believe this. But anyway, and I started to think about her a lot, in my walk in entrepreneurship. I started to think about her a whole lot, saying, hey, I don't want this to be my life. I don't want to wake up, go to work, come home, wake up, go to work, and repeat that cycle every day. Not, she wasn't paying attention to her own health because she was trying to take care of her kid. She was, taking care of other people, just not doing whatever it was that she was supposed to do. And I'm pretty sure, whatever her purpose was, she left it unfinished, in my opinion. And she inspired me to just go for it. Whatever it is that you want to do, to go for it. And they were always, she and my uncles and everybody would always say, TyKesha is smart. Keisha's smart, and they all pushed me toward college and, and things like that. And I think I was probably, my grandmother had 12 kids, and I was probably the first of the grandkids to actually go to college. I think I was the first one to finish a degree. There were a lot of them who came after me. Some of them who were older than me ended up, getting some degrees later on. But I was the first one to do that, and she was very instrumental in me doing that. Go to school, do this, and anything that she could help me with while I was in school, she did that for me. So she's my inspiration. She is the reason why, I'm doing this. My mom hears this podcast. She's going to be mad. I know. But she's like, like, why did you say I was your, because mom is mom, and that's what moms do.
Right.
Moms, they do what they have to do. But this person who was my aunt, who was not my mom, she kind of cared for me in that way, and just kind of watching her live but not live and then die. It's like, okay, and this can't be, what's in it for me. So that kind of got me on the path to, hey, I got to go to school. I got to do, I got to do this. I got to do that. And once I got into school, psychology was always my thing, because everybody always thought I was back home in Greenville, they didn't know the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, it's like, or a psychometrist or whatever it is. They're like, okay, she is a psychiatrist lady, they thought that. They were saying that she's psychic, or whatever
That's
whatever
right. I'm gonna predict everything, huh?
But I always knew, because the environment I grew up in, that different behaviors cause different consequences. If your health, whether it's health behavior or whatever it is that you're doing, mental health and health behaviors, all that kind of stuff went in hand. And a lot of that, growing up in those small towns, I was, within the middle of rural areas, a lot of depression, a lot of stress, those kind of things is what led me to, I want to know what's going on in people's head. I don't want to be a psychiatrist, so to speak. I just want to know, I just want to have this information. So I got there, and then, I found out, hey, this whole thing, when I talk about health behavior and community health and psychology, let's make that my major. And I started doing that. Then when I was in undergrad, I was working as in the admissions office. I was a work study student in the admissions office. And one day my boss came by and she was like, what's your major? What is it that you want to do with yourself? And I said, well, I'm a psychology major and I want to do something with health behavior and whatever. And she says, won't you volunteer in the psychology department to learn more about psychology and whatever? I said, you know what? I ain't got no money. I'm from Greenville, Alabama. I can't volunteer. I gotta go somewhere.
You got to pay me, right?
So I went over to the psychology building. I looked at the job board, and they had this opening for a student assistant. And I'm like, okay, I got to go tell my boss over in admissions, because they were paying me, but not paying me as much as I would get paid over in, as a student assistant in psychology. I said, hey, I quit because this guy over here in psychology wants to hire me for an actual job, not along the lines of the work study. So I'm going to quit and I'm going to go over here and work for them so I can get paid to learn psychology. So I ended up working with this guy for years. Like, all throughout my undergraduate career, I worked with him. I actually got a job, like a real job with him when I graduated. We did pain research. And we focused on the psychology of pain. So that's where I wrote my first peer-reviewed journal article when I worked with him. That's when I wrote my first grant. When I worked with him, I was probably 18, I guess, when I did that. And we were doing a lot of things with HIV education and health behavior related to HIV. It was just a fun thing for me. And then, once I started working with them and working at the university, I realized that there were a lot of community-based organizations, like small nonprofit organizations, who wanted to get in on some of the money that we were getting, and they just weren't in shape. They just were not in position to get this funding, right? They were, I'm people I can say raggedy, and I say that a lot. They were just raggedy, and they were coming up and they're, like, we want to apply for CDC funding, and we want to be your partner for, CDC or NIH. And you're looking at their infrastructure and you're like, there's no way in the world CDC is going to let us partner with them, because they are just, just toe up. It's just raggedy.
Right.
Nobody's going to get you to anything. And that's kind of where my heart started to lean toward the community-based organizations, small nonprofits, just to get them into shape where they could fill some of this. I mean, we were getting millions of dollars, on a constant basis. We were to whip them into shape so they could be able to get some of this money to care for those people that they wanted to care for.
Okay, yeah, and that sounds interesting, and I like the story how you went in from, here's what inspired me, and then going to college is how you discovered and rediscovered kind of yourself and realized that, I'm really interested in the psychology piece, but then how you took the two pieces and mended them together is important, because you're right. A lot of people are getting to these nonprofit organizations and really don't understand what the process is, how it works, what you have to do in order to be accepted, all those types of things. And I'm really interested in hearing more about the field of business of nonprofits and what is it that you're actually doing within your business to help individuals, and then we'll dive into a couple other questions that I have for you.
And you just mentioned like mending them all together. I had no idea that this is what that was until like 3 years ago, right?
Right,
like,
and yeah, because you were 18.
Like,
you're 18, right? Right, but it's amazing how we don't really know. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing, but like you said, when you kind of go back and you're looking and you realize that I started mending all this together at such a young age, and you didn't really know what you were doing, but you were doing it. But at the same time, you also had enough common sense to understand that, well, these people over here, like you said, are raggedy, and there's no way that somebody's going to do business with them. And when you can start to put all that together, and as your family's told you, you was the smart one, okay? So
you're smart.
You're smart. But we're laughing about it, but at the same time, it's just amazing how you can do all these transitions and then start to realize, as you do get older and you start and you've been in your business obviously for some years, and you realize what you're doing, how all these pieces start to mend together. And that's why I was so interested and curious in understanding how you could go from being into doing psychology, being a psychology major, talking about public health, and then all of a sudden you're into this nonprofit piece. So explain to me and the listeners a little bit about your nonprofit organization and what is it you do as a consultant.
Okay. Boone Enterprises is my nonprofit organization. After I left my psychology research, my very next big job was director of education and outreach at a pretty big nonprofit organization here in Alabama, right? While I was there, I was able to just write my heart out, just write grants and fund a program. And like I said before, I was already doing some stuff with HIV and HIV education at the university, and we started doing that over at the A-Service organization that I worked for. When I became pregnant with my middle child, my second child, who is now 8 years old, I said, you know what? I don't want to come back in here anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to come back to work at this organization anymore. I'd also started teaching. I've taught at 12 different colleges and universities online education, and I've taught health statistics, anything public health, epidemiology, those kind of things. Health education. But anyway, I said, you know what? When I have this baby, I'm going to stay at home. And because I had, some kind of way God had placed me into all these different things, you're doing psychology, now you're doing nonprofit. And I just had a little moment, with God. And I said, look, I don't want to go back over here. So tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do to stay here, right? I need to stay at the house. I missed my 14, she's 14 now, but I missed her first step, so I don't want to do that with the second one. What do I need to do? So, at the time, I was already doing some hustle stuff.
Right.
You're doing somebody's formation on the side. You're hustling the hobby. Yeah, it's like, look, yeah, I know how to do that, girl. I'll do it for you. Whatever, give me a couple dollars. And so I was doing that, little grant writing on the side and things like that. And so, I sat down and said, just use what you got.
Right.
Take everything from the psychology and the health education to the nonprofit management, and you put that together, and you get this business.
Mm-hmm.
Even the education and the teaching online. What do I do now with Boone Enterprises? I do education. I do nonprofit education. I have webinars, and I teach classes, and I coach, and I mentor. That's the same thing I did as an online teacher, right?
Right. That's
the health education piece. When people are writing grants for public health, or they're needing funding for public health, that's my mojo, right? That's my thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, so I'm in there, like, this is where I'm working at. Everything just kind of came together under what now feels to be natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even the epidemiology, the research, all that stuff that goes into it. I actually have like ABD. I'm all but dissertation, for my PhD in public health. Right? So I got kind of, toward the end, I'm like, I've done my classes and I got to do this dissertation thing. But then I was writing a grant for somebody. I was like, look, I don't feel like doing both. So I'm like, I'm not going to do both again. So I was like, let's put yourself to the side a little bit. And it was in public health. And, I didn't fall out of love with public health, but it's just the love that I had for the community-based organizations and the small nonprofits kind of outgrew that, because the struggle, like the struggle that you see, and, one of my friends on Facebook said, the struggle is optional. The struggle is not real. But some people don't realize that there is an option and that you don't have to be in the struggle.
Right.
But because struggle is all you know, and in the struggle way is the only way you know how to get there. So this is so Boone Enterprises erases that part and gives you, the struggle is optional. Not the struggle is real, but if you start out and you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be real.
Absolutely.
I've had some real struggle, right? Some real struggle, because that's what I knew. That's all I knew what to do. I was like, okay, let's do it. It's all wrong and backwards and whatever, but we're going to get it done. And I struggled the whole way through it. But when somebody is there, like, Boone Enterprises, to say, hey, you don't have to do it this way. Once you get your nonprofit form, let's do it this way, or let's form it this way. So what I do is offer formation from the bottom. There's a lot of people, particularly with the 1023 EZ, that's a new nonprofit quick form that's out right now. You can do that thing in like a few seconds. With that being out, came out in like 2014. With that being on the scene, people are just kind of rushing through that formation process, and they're getting it's popping up like pop. People are getting 501s, and then they come to me and they go, "Oh my God, I got a 501c3, but I ain't got no money." And I'm like, "I know, I don't have any money."
That's why you sitting in here, right?
I know you don't have any money because you didn't do this. Or do you have an operational budget? Do you have a business plan? Do you have a strategic plan? Do you have a funding plan? And they go, "Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to have all that. Somebody told me that I could just get a 501c3 and the government is going to start giving me money, right?"
Right.
And I go, if that was the case, then I would have one, and I would just be.
Everybody. If that's the case, everybody would be doing it. Right. And that's
right,
and I was just listening to what you were saying there. Just I don't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to say real quickly that those three pieces you just mentioned, that what people never understand, whether it's a nonprofit or whether it's a small business you're trying to open, or you want to be an entrepreneur, whatever the case is, people never want to take the proper steps. They always think that, I can go around the corner and I don't need this business plan. I don't need a financial plan. I don't need this and that. It amazes me, just those few things, those pieces, like they said, like the woman said, hey, you're sitting in here because you're not making any money because you did not do your homework. And so, people don't understand that having these documents and doing these pieces, they're evolving. It's not something you do one time. It's consistent. That's what helps you understand how you can grow, or how, or whether you need to stay the same. But like you said, it also helps you realize that, well, this is how you're going to make money. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that piece in there because I was just, it's a very important aspect of what it means to be in business, and whether you're doing nonprofit piece too, those things don't go away just because you're a nonprofit organization is my point.
And you mentioned the homework. I coach, so I have one-on-one clients that I coach into fund development. And fund development is building your nonprofit from the top to the bottom finding out what kind of revenue sources are you going to have to make this nonprofit work. So you have a lot of organizations who are under the false impression that, hey, once I get a 501c3, somebody's going to start giving me grants, and grants are going to be showing up. I don't have to do anything, and it's going to be like, they think it's like the federal student aid, and I've had my share of federal student aid because I've got, got all these degrees to pay for right now. but it doesn't work like that. You have to build, and you have to have revenue streams. I talked to a lady the other day, and she's like, no. I said, well, if you have a membership program, right? If you have a membership program and your members are not paying, then you need to address your members, and you have to make them pay. The Y does it all the time, right? You have membership programs at the Y.
That's right.
You have, American Red Cross, who they'll go out and they'll teach you how to, teach you CPR, they'll teach you HIV 101 or whatever they teach you. Somebody is paying for that. Now, you may not be, your company may be paying for it. It may not be coming out of your pocket. Somebody may have given a grant or something somewhere, but somebody is paying for it. So yeah, you're going to have to get this money into your nonprofit. You're going to have to think like a for-profit, but you're going to have to act like a nonprofit. It's like you act
exactly.
Like and that's how you get, and that's those are the things that I teach on, and how do you do that? How do you approach a funder? How do you approach sponsorship opportunities for your nonprofit organization? But even more than that, how do you build a strong foundation where you're going to sustain? How you're going to make sure that you're just not having event after event. If fundraising is your bottom line, then you should be raising funds. If you're just out here entertaining people, then you could have just kept the money that you spend on the fundraiser and put it on the program, because you're not creating any impact. You're just having these programs and people are coming in there eating at your expense. They're not giving you anything. So how you're going to make sure that you're building your organization where it can be competitive enough to go up against the universities or go up against the big nonprofits that are getting this money. I was talking to someone the other day about the Komen Foundation for breast cancer. And people are like rolling their eyes. I'm like, oh, the CEO is getting this kind of money and blah, blah, blah. But somebody is working. You can see that. It's evident that somebody is working, because October always pink. That's it. I mean, everything is pink. My son plays soccer. They had to buy pink socks, everything is pink because somebody in that organization is doing their job. Somebody is doing it. So if I'm going to pay, if somebody is working in Komen Foundation and they're getting $400,000, you know what? They probably work for it. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But your organization, if you just brought in $40, how can you get a $400,000 salary? Because you have to do the work.
Exactly.
We can't pay you $400,000 off $40. I'm sorry. You got to work it.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, most people just assume that when you say nonprofit, it's all about, I'm gonna lay back and it's easy. But like any business, you have to work it. You have to be on your grind every day. You can't sit up and talk about, well, it's gonna come. If I build it, people are gonna come. And we all have that. Sometimes we do all have that attitude as business owners, because we're so excited about wanting to provide, our services or products, but at the same time, people don't always understand that, you may start out good, but in order to maintain that consistency, you have to work. You can't just assume that it's all going to fall in your lap, because it just doesn't work that way. And I do agree with you when you talk about the fact that, trying to know what it is you're really trying to accomplish. What are you trying to convey to your customers or the people that you're trying to give the services to, whether it's nonprofit or not. You have to understand those pieces. I know that even in my own business, I've kind of gone around the track a few times within the last year and a half, just trying to understand, okay, well, this is where I started out from, but that's not really what I want to be known for. That's not really what I'm trying to do. So yeah, it's just all part of growing, and your services and your coaching and your consulting is very important, to any individual, whether they're deciding to do a nonprofit or not. Just having those building those pieces, as we call the building pieces to a business, I think is phenomenal. So explain to me though, how many years have you actually been doing your business?
My business, I started Type Enterprises in 2014, but I actually had another business before then. It's like you're talking about, you had to do some things you have to do before. I had a business called Perfecting Wellness right before that, and that started in 2007 when I was talking about, having my son and staying at home. And Perfecting Wellness was actually more like focusing on the public health, those people who were in public health who were wanting to do a nonprofit. And then I figured out, we were focused on minority education, minority health education, community planning and organization among certain pockets in Alabama. We have, Black Belt in Alabama, so I was looking more into those areas. But it just got real tough, and the more I grew And as I continued, working on my PhD, and the more I got out and exposed myself and figured out what was going on, in the world around me, I said, you know what, just like you said, I just kind of drifted to the other direction, but still having little pieces of what I was doing initially, into Taiwan Enterprises.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I was doing my hustle thing, that hustle turned into perfecting wellness. That was okay.
I thought I'd seen that on, and I was like, oh, is that the same thing or something different? I was going to ask you, but since you already brought it up, that's great. But tell me, what's been some of the challenges? I mean, like I said, you've gone from, here you went through school, college, you were doing the hustle on the side, then you end up having perfecting wellness, and now you have this, the TyKesha Enterprises. So explain to me some of the challenges you've had in between this whole process of building these businesses.
I think my biggest challenge was learning how and when to say no and what to say no to. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, with Perfecting Wellness, for example, with most of it, with my target population being people who were in the Black Belt, and that area of people. I said, I wanted to do everything. I just kind of felt just compassionate for them, and spending time in Pineapple, Alabama. It's like, okay, seriously, where there were some spots down there that people still didn't have,
right.
Running water. It's 2007, 2008,
wow.
and just wanted to serve, but knowing that when you're serving certain populations of people, they may not be able to pay. Right. It's like, okay, they may not be able to pay. And I just had a baby, so look, the Similac was coming in. My husband's like, look, if you don't do something, look, let me tell you this, lady. I love you and I support you, whatever, but this Similac is getting out of control, and he got digestive problems. We got to buy the special kind. So
you're going to have to turn this around quickly, okay?
What we do? What is this about? What is it? And like I said, I was teaching online at the same time, so I kind of I was doing that, but I said, you know what? I need to figure out when to say no, what to say no to, meaning that you don't say no to everything, because if you say no to everything, then you're missing out on, some good opportunities sometimes. Right. But you have to know, what's a no situation. So if somebody's coming to you and it's just, you got to weigh your own personal situation a lot of times, and you say, hey, I can't do this. I'm already writing 5 grants for half the price that that I normally charge. So I can't take on another one. What I did do to kind of make up for that, because I always kind of felt like, okay, you have to give in order to get. So you have to do, some type of something that shows appreciation for the gifts that you've been given. Mm-hmm. So I became, a couple of months ago, I became a SCORE mentor.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I said, you know what, that's what I'm giving right there. That's volunteer. So, okay. And I can leverage the opportunity, because when my face is on the SCORE flyer or whatever.
That's right.
So look, so now I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because I'm not just giving stuff away. I'm still leveraging this. It's still putting me out there. I'm still being exposed for my expertise, and this is how this works. Some other challenges, with trying to balance the family. I am, like I said, my 3-year-old is potty training. I work from home. I'm right downstairs right now, and they're upstairs stomping. I can hear them a little bit. Mm-hmm. Trying to balance. I have a husband. I have a teenage daughter. She'll be 15 in November, right? Mm-hmm. And right. I'm like, okay, I can't just be so wrapped up in this business that I just let them grow up and go on. And so sometimes things like that kind of bother me a little bit. Like, okay, but I know I got to grind it. I got to do it really hard. And look, little boy, you got to potty train, because we got to go to daycare. And
yeah, you got to go, right? you got to go.
But I also homeschool my 8-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My 8-year-old is homeschooled. And it's like, having to balance all of that, those are challenges, because, having to be able to manage my time, where, I'll get into a situation sometimes where I just get excited, like I am right now, and I just start talking, like I'll get excited and I'll be on the phone, with the client, or, right. It's okay with the client because you're paying me, but I might be on the phone with the prospect, and I'll just, go on and on and on. I'll just keep on. And I go, and before I know it, I'm like, dang it, I've run over time. I've given out, more than I should have given. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I got another call in a few minutes, and the potty training person is running up the hall with the Ninja Turtle pot, just going wild. And I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to block him out for the next 20 minutes and talk to my prospect. But, just balancing, it has been a challenge. I think I'm finally getting into that whole groove of things now, and it's probably because they're getting older and they're learning how to sit for a little while. My 8-year-old, he's independent. He knows how to deal with things. With them growing up, it's become a lot better. And with me setting boundaries, which I never used to set at all. I didn't set office hours, or anything like that. People would call me. I'm serious. They would call me on Sunday evening, like, hey,
Wow.
what's up? And I would answer the phone. So it was my fault because I would answer. Right. So if I wouldn't answer, then it would, I have office hours. I had to get into the mindset where I say, hey, you know what? We have this call scheduled for 1:00 on a Tuesday. So we need to talk on 1:00 on Tuesday. I would have people who were so used to me not honoring that. They will, I'm going to call you whenever I want to. And you're going to talk.
Exactly. Yeah, they take it for granted, right?
You had to get into a place where I said, you know what? If you have a dentist appointment and it tells you to come at 1:00, you're going to go at 1:00. You're going to take lunch break. You're going to reschedule. You're going to get something going on with your friend where she can fill your time slot or whatever. You're going to get there at 1:00.
Right.
So I was respect, and I had to respect myself first in order to get that done.
Right. But like you said, I know a big part of, like you said, it's part of just being excited, about what you're doing. And I think everybody goes through that challenge because you don't want to seem like you're not there for your clients or your customers, that you don't appreciate them. But at the same token, they need to appreciate you as well and respect, your time frame. And, that's pretty hard for some people not understanding when they don't run a business. They just think that you're supposed to be available for them 24/7. And like I said, but at least you've got that into balance and, all the other little challenges that you face, you're working them and everything has gone well. So if you had, though, one piece of advice that you would share with another woman who decided they may want to open up a business, what would that be?
One piece. Well, my one piece would be to keep going. And the reason why I said there's been days, I'll be laying in bed in the morning. I'm like, you know what? I ain't gonna do this no more. I'm about to get up. Serious. I mean, like I said, with the having to balance things, it all comes in, I think, in its own time. Where now I have a whole lot less of those days. I may not have any at all for months.
Right.
Like now. But, early on it's like, oh my God, this is hard because you think that it's easy. You think that it's easy and you don't let Facebook and Instagram fool you because, people be on there smiling and doing all these lives and stuff and just acting like everything is perfect. And it's not. It's not perfect. It is not, perfect by a long shot. And you have to start out, keep going. And in order for you to you have to start in order to keep going. So you keep going. You push through it. Don't compare your success to somebody else's success because success looks different for everybody. That's right. Keep going. Just keep going and say, you know what? If you know that you're starting out the right way, of course there's going to be some times where you're like, I thought that was right and somebody told me that was right, but apparently this is not the right thing for me. And everybody is different. The way, there's some strategies to get your business going that works for everybody. There are some things that has to be done at the foundation, at the startup, that's the same across the board. The business plan, you're getting your formation or getting your incorporation or whatever, those logistics, those things are the same across the board. But the day-to-day may not be the same. Your day-to-day may not be the same as mine because I have a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old that I'm homeschooling. I have a 15-year-old. Once I talked with a lady once and she was like, you're gonna resent, the fact that you're having to, you can't do your coaching call at 8:00 because you're going to your daughter's game. I'm like, no, I'll resent the fact that I wasn't at her game because I'm doing a coaching call.
Right.
So if I have to do my coaching call at 7:30 after she's gone to school instead of at 7:30 at night, that's what I have to do. So her role is not the same as mine. But I'm going to keep going. So I'll get up and you do you, but you make sure that what you're doing is working. You look back and you assess some things and you say, hey, that's not working for me. So you need to figure out what's working and you need to do it quick because you don't want to, I saw somewhere where, people don't drown from being in the water. They drown because the water is above their head. My pastor said, you know what, you don't have to be a fish. But if I throw you in some water that's above your head, you better know how to swim.
Right.
You don't have to be a bird,
Right.
whatever. But if I throw you off a 20-story building, you better get you a parachute.
That's right.
Because the world is going to go in the direction that the world goes. Business is going to be business. There are going to be things that comes up. You're going to be placed in situations that you may not know how to deal with, but you got to keep going, because guess what? If you a fish and you're not a fish and I put you in some water, you still got to know how to swim, because you're going to drown.
That's right.
That's
Absolutely.
it. Learn how to swim.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And that's good, great advice, because you're absolutely right. It's just keep going, keep churning. Like we said earlier, stay on your grind. Every day is going to be different, but eventually it all starts to balance out and it works out. But you can't give up, because you definitely have those days. I have those days too. I wake up, I'm like, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? And then, I still got other things going on around. I'm like, I must be crazy. Right. But, it's like, who understands this dream? And that's the key too, that people don't understand that this is your dream. And, you're trying to live it. You're trying to provide the things that you want people to have, because that this is the right way to do it, and this will help them become successful. And once people can understand, they don't have to understand your dream, but be a part of it in a certain way. And that's even just by being a customer, that lets you know that your dream is valid and that what you're doing is absolutely the right thing to do. So, your information and what you're providing people in the community, I think is awesome. So if anybody would like to get a hold of you, how would they find you?
My website is www.tybooneenterprises.com. I have a group that I'm really proud of on Facebook. It's called Non-Profit Success with Ty. Mm-hmm. I give a lot of nonprofit success nuggets in there. I have different templates that you can use for your nonprofit. Every once in a while, I pop in and do a live or do an audio or something like that. Whenever I have webinars or anything that people can attend, I post that information in there. I post grant announcements in there. Just kind of every day-to-day, what to do and what not to do to build your nonprofit is in that group. Mm-hmm. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at TyBoone LLC, and my email is TyKesha at TyBooneenterprises.com.
All righty. Well, that has been awesome. Well, I do want to thank you for coming on tonight. I've had a great time. And do you have any last words for the listeners, though?
Oh, just keep going. If you think that you want to start a nonprofit organization, figure out why. Figure out why you want to start one, first of all. There's a lot of people who get into nonprofit organizations for the wrong reasons. The nonprofit organization is about the community. It's about the people you serve. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. So if you want to start something that's about you, you might want to just, have a for-profit business, or and that's still not about you. But if you want to be the center of attention or whatever, you might want to start something different than a nonprofit organization. The nonprofit organization is about the community. It's about those you serve. It's not to, if you had a dream of becoming financially free in the next 24 hours, then you need to win the lottery. You don't need to start a nonprofit organization.
Exactly.
That's not going to be the way to go about that. But if you really have a heart, and it takes more than passion. It takes a lot more than passion to start anything. Even as passionate as I am about what I do, it takes a lot more than passion, because those days when I'm in the bed and don't want to get out, passion is definitely not working for me. It's like, look, this is not about passion at all. It takes more than purpose, because you can have a purpose that but that doesn't mean that you're going to fulfill it. It mm-hmm. takes work. It's a job. Mm-hmm. Nonprofit work is a job. Money is not going to fall from the sky, and it's not going to be raining Benjamins or all of whatever you call it these days. I'm not sure, because like I said, I turned 40 earlier this year, so I don't know what the new slang is for anything. But that's not what happens. You have to work. You have to get in position. I tell my folk all the time to get visible, get moving, get visible, get funded, and basically that's just get your formation and get your compliance things in order. Get visible. Don't do everything behind Facebook and behind the computer and on Instagram. Get out into the community, particularly if you're a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. You want to get out, people to see you. You want people to see that you're giving somebody a hand up before you have your hand out asking them for money, because they haven't seen you.
Yep.
They don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Year we're in November right now. We're going into end of year giving campaigns and Giving Tuesday and things like that, and you'll see a lot of people asking folk for money, and you're like,
mm-hmm.
Where you been?
Right.
I ain't seen you here. Don't be like this. Don't be like
exactly.
them.
Yeah, the only time you see them is when they need something. You're like, okay, here we go. Right. Exactly.
relationship, it's like a bad boyfriend, right? It's like he come over here on Christmas because he think I got some money. He come in, in early spring because I got my taxes.
Right.
That's bad. Don't just come around here when you think I got something for you. You need to be my boyfriend every day.
Exactly.
Every
That's
day.
right. Well,
And so,
that's
and
right.
yeah, that's what I want to leave with you guys. Just if you're gonna do it, do it. It's a job. You got to do it every single day. I'm a Huffington Post contributor. I did a campaign last month about Nonprofit 365. I'm also about to launch a Nonprofit 365, basically just doing everything for nonprofits, not just what I do coaching, but I'm bringing on some independent consultants who are going to be doing everything from compliance, law, that kind of stuff,
Okay.
to web design for specifically for nonprofit organizations. But that'll be something that I'll be doing next year. But it's work. It's everyday work. It's just like you would do for a for-profit business. And if you're not in it to work it, then don't get into it because it's not going to work for you.
Exactly. But that's with anything in life. So, that last statement, everybody needs to take that and use it for everything, not just for one piece, because no matter what we do, you can set a goal, but if you're not willing to put the time and the effort into it, you're never going to reach that goal. And
Right.
So that's no different than opening up business or starting a nonprofit. So on that note, again, I would like to thank you for your time. And I really had a great time talking with you. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us tonight. Everybody else, good night. I'm here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow us on Spreaker at www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. You can also find me on the WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com. Visit us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. But until next time, you all have a great evening.